Well, if you've seen some of my other videos, you've seen that I've been using this a lot. This is dry watercolor, pan watercolor. Let me open it up and show you. That's what it is. That's what it looks like. And as you can see, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 colors. And of course you can mix them to make other colors. And they are watercolor, activated by water. So I've been toying with it, and I've been doing a few things. I did this one yesterday. That's an illustration for a children's book, or a demonstration of an illustration. I did this one to play around with a landscape kind of a look. And today I did this one. This is a portrait of a young lady I found online. I don't know if you can see her. There she goes, focused. So I like the way it looks. It has that very illustration-y look to it, and I know you could probably work it so that it wouldn't be illustration-y looking. Make it more artsy. I don't know if you would say that, but I kind of like, I'm playing with it, and it's kind of cool because it's so portable. It's so small, and all you need is water and a few brushes. So I'm going to show you how I did the portrait that I just showed you right now. All right, let's see what we can do here. We're going to do like I've been doing lately, and using the dry or the hard watercolor. And again, just to recap, it's Winsor and Newton, and it is dry and it's hard, and it's also called pan watercolors. And these are the brushes I'm going to use. I don't really have any definition to the brushes, and using regular watercolor paper. This is made by Artist's Loft. It's 9 by 12 inches. It's 90 pounds, and it's considered cold press finish, acid free. So with that stuff out of the way, because those are the questions that I get a lot. So I want to do today just a face. I'm going to sketch it in first. Just a little bit of guidelines for myself to know what I'm doing here, and just try to make a face here, and we'll try to do our best with the watercolor, and we'll see how it works out. Okay, so we go there. Try and get a face here. I'm basically just doing a very rough sketch, so we'll see how this works out. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I was asked about doing faces and about doing portraits. I actually don't do very many portraits anymore. I used to do nothing but portraits, and the thing about portraits is they have to look like the person. You can't get it in the ballpark. You have to get it right there, and that's part of the reason why I stopped doing them, is because I was pretty good. And when I say pretty good, I would say I got the likeness 90% of the time. But I felt like it was not creative, if that makes sense to you. It was just taking, usually working from a photograph. So when I did sketches in the theme parks or the resorts for the theme parks, I would have the person sitting in front of me, of course, but and those were charcoal sketches, and of course, they weren't from photographs, but most portraits I've done have been from photographs. People wanting maybe somebody who's no longer alive. They wanted a nice portrait of that person, but all they had was an old snapshot, and so. And I know it gave them something that they didn't have before, and it was nice to have that for their part. But again, I wanted to do something more creative, so I stopped doing portraits. However, that doesn't mean I stopped doing faces. In illustrating for children's books, faces are, I mean, it's almost like the most important thing to be able to do is to have faces. And so faces are important to do. And when you are talking about faces, then you're also talking about complexion. You talk about the coloring and the shade, the shadows, and all the things that go along with faces. So I want to do a real quick sketch of this girl here. I found her a picture of her on the internet, so I'm using a reference photo on my computer, which is off camera, but that's okay. I don't have the equipment yet to do 2 cameras. Maybe one day. But in essence, I'm just looking at the girl, the photo of the girl, and sketching her. And we'll see what we can do with the watercolor. I'm kind of interested myself because I haven't really done portraits with watercolor. Not really. Looks like she's got her hand against her cheek. Okay, so I don't see the whole hand, so you know what, I'm going to get rid of that hand because I don't have the whole hand in the photograph, and I don't want to just do part of it, and I don't want to guess at the rest of it. So I'll just make the pretty girl as she is. And she's got hair, of course, and it goes everywhere. Her hair is everywhere. Pretty girl. So if you can see the pencil sketch, you can see where I'm going with this. What I like about this particular girl, and you'll see in a second, is the fact that she's got flowers in her hair. And so those flowers are going to be important for this picture because those flowers will be, I'm going to try anyway, to leave them as the white. So the white of the paper. So I'll just leave it like this. I'll just kind of make a shoulder like that. And there we go. That looks nice. There we go. Now we have the nice looking girl. All right, let's start with this. So I'm going to start with the hair because there's going to be some areas that have to be left white. And so I'm going to do it like that. Actually, I'm not going to put the water down first. I'm just going to go ahead and put the color in there so that I can, because I can't see the white very well. So I'm just going to put this light color. She's got very dark hair, and I'll get back to that later on to make it darker. But right now, I just want to leave these little white areas for the flowers that are in her hair. And I think intentionally, I'm going to try to keep it sketchy, like watercolor sketchy, not pencil sketchy, but watercolor sketchy. And that should be good. Just kind of fill in some of these colors here, some of these areas. There we go. Pull in some of that. Like I say, her hair is really dark, so I'm going to be able to darken the paint as I get deeper into the composition. But right now, let's just spread it around a little bit. And we'll try to get her complexion as close as possible. Yeah, just keep some of this white. It's going to have to dry. Let that dry, and then we'll be able to manipulate that better, I think. There we go. Probably have to use something over here to fill out the composition. Right now the composition looks a little unusual because it's lopsided. So let me add some background a little bit. There. I'm going to add a little bit of that gray here. Keep it very watercolor-ish. And like I say, give a little bit of pre-shadow, I guess. Best way to say this. I'm using a big brush, obviously, you can tell that. In a way, it's like sketching with a pencil because you're using different values of gray. Yeah, I kind of like that. You gotta get the feeling that there's. Let me go ahead and put some color back there too, so it's not just all gray. Adds a little bit of purple. There we go. And this is going to take a while to dry because I put so much water on there. Let me spread it around a little bit more. And as you see, it soaks into the paper, and it makes the paper warp. There we go. Okay, now let's try to get a little bit of her complexion. The problem I'm going to have is the water on her hair is reaching down into her face. So we'll try some of this tone right here and see how that works out. I'll just kind of brush it in. Try to remember where the areas of her face are that are the brightest. And those areas are the tip of her nose, the side of her cheek. Yeah. Put all this in there. Brushing it in, making it make sense. Okay. And again, that's going to be, the hair is going to be coming down into her forehead. And that shadow that we put there with the gray, now we're going to do our best to put the orange-ish, brownish, whatever that color is called, put it in there and mix it with that gray. It gives a little bit of a shaded look. Same thing with right there. Just gonna get it all wet. See if we can blend it all down. Now there, this area right here is going to be the lightest area. And her tip of her nose also. We get this gray reactivated a little bit so it softens the edge right there. Same thing with her nose. All right, let's do a little something with her shirt. Maybe a purple shirt, since I had a little bit of purple in the background already. And you can see already the woman is coming alive. Very watercolor-ish, but that's how we want it. Obviously, if you were using a different medium, oil paint or acrylic paint, you would handle this differently. With watercolor, you have to be careful not to make it too dark, because it's hard to go back to light. You can use gouache to bring it back to light, or you can just try your best to keep it like it is. I'm going to mix some purple in there, kind of reflecting off of her shirt. A little bit of okay. Let's see if I can do that up here, if I can get away with it. There we go, get that. Move it around a little bit more. It's starting to come together. Her complexion. Yeah, it's kind of just a matter of working it until it looks the way you want it to look. Alright, now let's get back to the darker colors. Okay, now her face is still pretty wet, so I'm going to wait to do her eyes and her other facial features. But in the meantime, I can add a little bit of darkness to her hair. Try to make sure I keep room for those little flowers. Still pretty dark. Still pretty wet too. Do her eyebrows. I guess I can do that now. Get some of those eyebrows in there. Yeah, probably have to let it dry a lot more before I work on that area on her face. So let me go back up here to the top of her hair. Just spread it around. Okay, there we go. It's starting to look right. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to dry around her eyes. Right now, her eyes, I'm going to use this little tiny brush. And I think what I want to do for the eyes, first I want to get this very, very, very light colored, like blue, because the white of her eyes, all of us, we have it the same way. We don't have really white in our eyes. It looks like white, but it's not really. You can make it white, and I guess you get away with it in art, but it looks so much better if you make it a little bit darker than it actually is, or than it actually appears. All right, let me get some reddish tones here for her lips. One thing I like about watercolor is that you can use the dried watercolor and it looks just as good. You just have to reactivate it. Now the teeth are probably going to be very white. Probably just leave them the white that they are from the paper. Because I think if I do anything with them, it's going to be a mistake. If I try it, because the truth is, again, just like your eyes are not really white, the teeth are not really white. Okay, let me give a little hint of a nostril here. There we go. Now let's get her eyes. Her eyes are everything. Let's try to keep a little white in there for the glimmer of her eyes. Okay. Make her eyebrows a little bit more defined. The hair. All right, let's go for this eye over here. And again, let's try to keep that one little area with some white on it. And she's got beautiful eyelashes, so we don't want to forget them. Okay. Let's go back to her eyebrow over here. All right, now let's take, because this is now dry up here, so let's go ahead and make some like fine hairs that are coming down onto her forehead. It's a very pretty look. I get a lot of questions about faces. I get a lot of questions about some landscapes. I get questions about how you do this for a living. I haven't really done a video of that. I started on the last one, but I didn't really answer any questions, I don't think. So this is a mistake right here. I might have to fix that with gouache. And of course I want to make sure these flowers in her hair look like flowers. I think what I'll do to make them look like flowers is I'll just go ahead and make like when you're a child and you're making daisies. I think I'll just do that instead of trying to really duplicate every flower in her hair. I'll just create these daisies, this look of daisies, I guess, as best as I can. So she's got some daisies in her hair. Do you remember that song? Oh gosh, you're probably too young, but if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to put some flowers in your hair, or something like that. Do you remember? Does that sound familiar to anybody? That's from when I was a kid. And if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to put some flowers in your hair. All right, let's go ahead and put some yellow in the middle of those flowers. If they are indeed daisies, then they should have some yellow in the middle. I'm just going to put it in there like that. Not worry about it too much. Just put them in there. Give it that daisy look. And then when that dries, we can go back over it. Probably has some over here too. There we go. There's some daisies. Okay, I gotta wait a little bit, but I think what I want to do, this area over here is not quite right. I feel like this should be coming out a little bit down to her eye, and then from the eye it should go down. It's not too bad. Let me see if I can fix it with some gouache. So I have some gouache left over from yesterday, and it's all dried on this page, but dried gouache can be reactivated. So let's find a, see how it reactivates? You can use it again. Just got to get a lot of it. Let's mix it with some white, maybe a little bit of brown. Just kind of give it that golden color until we get it looking. All right, let's see if that works now. If it doesn't work, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's all right. A couple layers should do it. Get some of these colors. There you go. A little bit of rouge on her cheeks, I think. Get this brush wet again. Bring it down here. Just kind of get this wet again. I feel like it needs to be a little bit darker around here. Pull the water off the brush a little bit. Okay, now I think, let me go back to this small brush, this little brush. Clean it off. Okay, let's work her hair a little bit more now. Get some of these edges around these flowers. It looks like flowers. I mean, it's somewhat impressionistic, but hey, everything I do is impressionistic. I think I'm pretty much that's where I am. I'm an impressionistic kind of a guy, even though I don't always want to be. Sometimes it happens that way. But anyway, I like the way the hair's coming out. I like those flowers. I think that works nice. Yeah, little areas. I feel like her eyes are a little bit too dark, but maybe not. Maybe it's okay. Let's put some hair down closer to her face. Maybe she's even got some. Maybe that's what it needs. It needs to be a little bit down into her face more. So if you were doing an illustration for a magazine or for a newspaper or for a website or something like that, and you wanted to have the look of watercolor, you would use kind of this same technique and then run with it. And if it has to look like a specific person, you'd probably be okay. You'd probably be able to do that. Just trying to figure out here what to do. Maybe a little bit more darkness in the corner of her mouth. Maybe a little bit more darkness in the nostril. Kind of like the way that looks. I feel like I could do more with the shirt, and I also feel like this area right here has dried with that borderline that I don't really want, so let me wet it down and pull it out. Just get some of those, you know how the lines form when the watercolor dries. Sometimes you like them, and sometimes you don't like them. So there you go. Now what I want to do is I want to take that purple and give her a little bit more depth to her shirt. A little bit more. Oops, that's a little bit too much, isn't it? We'll spread it out so it's a little bit, got some shadows and some folds. So it's not completely one color. So it's a matter of shades, and let's do something with the background too. I think I like that purple background, so I'm gonna spread it a little farther, make it a little bit richer. Yeah. Get some blues to that. So it's not completely purple. Okay, let's not get too wet here. Try to get some blue in there. Yeah, that looks nice. Yeah. All right, so there's the portrait of a young woman, and hopefully that helps you understand how I would approach that particular subject. So let me take a picture of it so I can share it. Okay. All right, well, there you go. There's the picture of the young lady. All right, hope you like it.